Hi everyone. Welcome to the Turkish series Stars channel. All the details are in our video. Before we dive in, make sure to subscribe and share so you never miss a moment. Thank you for being here. Now, let's get into what really shook the red carpet last night. At a glittering brand gala held in Istanbul, Elçin Sangu arrived with her usual poise, the kind that turns a crowded press line into a hush. Cameras flashed, stylists whispered, and reporters leaned forward as she paused in front of the microphones. She chatted warmly about her ongoing projects, the roles that excite her, and the style choices that have become her signature. But then, the mood shifted in a heartbeat. The moment a journalist brought up her former co-star, and at the time, partner, Barış Arduç, everything changed. The question landed like a stone. What would you like to say about the claims regarding Barış Arduç? Elçin's smile faded, her gaze steadied, and she took a measured breath. Her answer was brief, unyielding, and sharp enough to slice through the noise. She said, with calm steel in her voice, that asking such a thing was out of line, and that there was nothing more to discuss. Then she thanked the press and stepped off the line, leaving a trail of startled silence behind her. That exchange, filmed from multiple angles, was captured moment by moment and ricocheted across social media within minutes. Clips replayed endlessly, lip readers analyzed her exact phrasing, and timelines filled with debates. A single sentence had become the headline of the night, and the internet wanted to know what it meant. Insiders and fans alike interpreted the moment as a sign of how weary she's become of rumors that never seem to fade. Back when she and Barış were leading one of the most talked-about series in the country, their chemistry lit up the screen and fed endless speculation. Even after the show wrapped, whispers about a relationship continued to follow them. Neither ever gave a definitive confirmation or denial. They sidestepped, they laughed it off, they changed the subject. But last night felt different. Last night, Elçin drew a firm line. People close to her say this has been building for some time. She has told those around her that constantly hearing her private life reduced to the same name and the same story is draining. They say she's chosen a new approach. When a question crosses a boundary, she won't indulge it. She won't explain or tease or play coy. She will shut it down and move on. It's not anger, they say, but conviction, an insistence on keeping her work separate from a narrative that never seems to evolve. On the supporters' side, the response was immediate and loud. Fans flooded timelines with messages defending her right to refuse. Comments poured in, reading like a collective exhale. She doesn't owe anyone more than she's willing to give, her professional life deserves the main stage, and this cycle of asking the same question over and over needs to end. Some said this was the clearest indication that whatever anyone imagined between her and Barış is no longer a topic worth circling back to. Others called it overdue, an answer that should have been delivered months ago, if only to stop the repetitive noise. She left the event without commotion, without allowing the back and forth to continue. The moment was quick, clipped, and unmistakable. But sometimes a short answer lands harder than a long explanation. It felt like the final word, and it's likely to stir discussion in celebrity corners for a long while. For many observers, it looked as if Elçin closed the door on questions involving Barış, and she did it in a way that can't be misread. The aftermath has been a swirl of interpretations. Columnists who track entertainment beats took note of how she's sounded in recent interviews, composed, a touch distant, carefully measured. Last night, they say, was the moment those boundaries became visible. Not tantrum, not theatrics, just a definitive refusal. Those who were standing nearby at the gala later admitted they were startled to see such a stark tone from someone known for her softness and grace in public. One guest was overheard saying that patience doesn't last forever, even for the most polished stars. And this, right here, is the pressure point of fame, when a person's craft becomes overshadowed by a looping storyline that refuses to age out. There's another layer to this saga that shouldn't be ignored. Industry insiders say Elçin is in the thick of a bustling season. There are talks about new scripts, high-profile co-productions, and meetings with global brands that want her elegance fronting their campaigns. She's training, reading, testing, building. In the middle of that, being dragged back into old speculation can feel like sand in the gears. That tension, they say, explains the edge in her voice last night. It wasn't for show. It was practical. It was a schedule demanding that distractions stop consuming oxygen. As for Barry's Arduç, he has maintained his signature quiet. True to form, he hasn't issued any comment about the question or the buzz that followed. Those who've watched him over the years will recognize this approach. He often allows storms to pass without stepping outside. And for many fans, that's the final clue. Two people with their own paths, their own priorities, no longer interested in feeding speculation. They did their work, they shone when they shared a set, and then they moved on. Gossip pages are now reporting that this won't be the last time we see a firm line drawn. Apparently, going forward, Elçin intends to set ground rules before interviews. Certain topics will be off limits, and any attempt to push past those limits will be swiftly redirected. If true, that would signal a shift in how she wants to navigate the media, less reactive and more structured, with boundaries agreed upon before the first question is asked. The most striking part of the night is that what she said wasn't a speech. It was a single, controlled response. But the message traveled far beyond the red carpet. It sounded like a refusal to participate in a certain kind of story. A refusal to let tabloid impulses dictate the narrative of a woman who has worked hard to build her name on roles, not rumors. If that's the new posture, then last night was her declaration. The phrase "a new era" is floating across timelines and columns, not because the industry changed in an instant, but because a beloved star spelled out her limits with clarity. It has reopened long-standing debates too. Why are actresses so often pressed to relive old connections? Why are imagined romances kept alive even when the work has moved forward and the people involved have moved as well? People whisper that in private, Elçin has confided how wearing it is to have a months-long shoot and immersive character work reduced to a few recycled names. It's not drama, they say, it's fatigue. The kind that sets in after yet another day of emotional investment, training, costume fittings, and long nights on set. Only to face questions about a chapter that should have been shelved. Still, her choice to speak plainly rather than sidestep is what makes this moment different. Silence can sometimes be taken as consent. She knows that. And so, instead of letting the rumor mill grind on with her quiet complicity, she decided to push back. Not with theatrics or anger, but with a clear refusal that leaves little room for creative reinterpretation. Meanwhile, social media remains a battlefield of opinions. Some longtime fans consider the timing perfect, even if they wish it had come earlier. Younger fans are reading strength into the answer, calling it a template for how not to let curiosity trespass. Columnists are framing it as a textbook example of resetting the tone between public figures and the press. Others see it as a window into the relentless pressure of long-lived gossip, the sort that follows a star from one role to the next as if it were part of the cast. There is also talk that Elçin is on the verge of unveiling a new project, one that will shift every conversation to her work the moment it's official. People in the know claim that once the announcement lands, the spotlight will tilt naturally toward the story she's telling on screen and the challenge she's taking on, rather than the whispers that trail behind her. Word is that her management is fine-tuning a communication plan designed to guide interviews back to the substance of her career and away from the orbit of old intrigue. As the day after the gala rolled on, the realignment became clear. Editors, vloggers, and gossip writers were no longer asking who she was with or what remained between her and Barış. Instead, the headline question shifted to what she would choose next. A historical drama? A sleek contemporary thriller? A global campaign that would cement her as an international face? Whatever it is, it seems that last night's line in the sand did exactly what it was meant to do, nudge attention back toward the work. It's worth noting that none of this makes the past vanish. The old series still exists, the chemistry still lives in fans' memories, and the public will likely always feel something when they hear their names mentioned together. But that sentiment doesn't obligate either of them to explain, perform, or revisit. If anything, it makes the boundary even more necessary. Nostalgia is not a contract. From where we stand, it looks like a clean pivot. A star who has cultivated elegance and restraint chose clarity at a moment when it mattered. She didn't condemn, she didn't accuse, she didn't feed a scandal. She simply refused to let a question drag her backward. And for Barış, the silence that has served him before is serving him now. In this dance of public gaze and private resolve, both sides appear to be choosing dignity over spectacle. Back at the gala, the quiet after her words said as much as the words themselves. Crew members stared down at their headsets, the host adjusted his cards, and publicists exchanged looks that said, "Message received." From there, the evening went on, the lights dimmed, speeches were made, and glasses clinked. But for those who care about the heartbeat of celebrity culture, the night had already delivered. It gave us a glimpse of how a boundary is set without burning the room down. What happens next will likely confirm what many are already predicting. Interviews will be tighter. Topics will be clearer. And for anyone hoping to ride the wave of nostalgia with probing questions, the answer will be the same as last night's: that door is closed. Not with bitterness, but with purpose. To those watching closely, this is bigger than one exchange. It's a reminder that fame doesn't erase the right to decide what is shared and what isn't. Elçin has asked that her work speak first, and the rest be left in the past. If the industry listens, we may see a quieter, more respectful press line in the months ahead. If it doesn't, we now know exactly how she'll respond. And so, the conversation shifts, as it should, from a single charged question to the slate of roles that will make headlines for the right reasons. Whether it's a bold new series or an international collaboration that turns heads abroad, the story moving forward is professional, not personal. For many of us who have followed both Elçin Sangu and Barış Arduç across the years, that feels like the conclusion to a chapter everyone has read many times over. We'll keep watching, and we'll bring you the official announcements as they drop. Until then, last night stands as a clear statement of priorities, delivered in one line and backed by a graceful exit. This is Turkish series Stars, and that was the moment that changed the conversation. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe to Turkish series Stars and share it with friends who follow every turn in this world. See you in the next one.